Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. I'm Biola Lavi.
I'm Tundra Abiola.
I'm Veronica Decker. Welcome back.
The ruling All Progressives Congress has finally taken control of Nigeria's National Assembly after two of its anointed candidates became Senate President and Speaker, House of Representatives. Shortly before the leadership elections a few days ago, there was a lot of camaraderie among legislators in both chambers, a departure from the culture of acrimony that reigned supreme for 4 years with the National Assembly under the chairmanship of then Senate President Dr. Bukola Saraki. And so, to what extent will the spirit of bipartisanship be made to work for Nigerians this time around? We are now being joined by Oke Epia, a journalist and executive director, OrderPaper Nigeria, to give us more perspective on this issue. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good morning.
So let's start off with your thoughts on the leadership elections that happened. There was Ahmed Lawan, who was the anointed candidate. He won. Femi Gbajabiamila, the anointed candidate, won. So much for all of the postulations that a dark horse would win, PDP would, pull off an upset at the last minute. None of that happened. It went according to plan for APC.
Well, congratulations to the victors, Senator Ahmed Lawan and his counterpart, the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila. Congratulations to the APC. Like you have said, they got what they want. And so there would be little or no room for excuses anymore. But I think that we should be careful about this euphoria about the APC getting what it wants. The APC has not been known, to be very, very harmonious, even when it has everything it needs or requires to deliver on its promises. But I mean, with respect to what usually happens in the parliament, the APC now has all that it wants, but the important thing to look out for is how is the principal actors, are they able to manage what has emerged? Because looking at what's the character of the Buhari presidency and the temperament of officials of the executive arm of government will also have a bearing on what happens in the National Assembly. And the expectations of individual members of the National Assembly will also have a bearing on what eventually also happens, because these are politicians. They have their interests, they have their expectations, and if these interests and expectations are not seen to be projected or being achieved by the leadership that they elected themselves, there will be some little bit of some ripples here and there. So while it is good that they got what they want, and Nigeria looks set, to be on a smooth sail on governance, but we should remind ourselves that it is not yet uhuru, because politics is an ongoing game.
Thank you for that. Ahmed Lawan sort of after the election said that they're ready to get to work, and they have a lot of catching up to do, and they want to basically, the biggest focus for them is going to be the quick passage of the budget. What do you think their priorities of this 9th National Assembly will be, especially now that there should not, like you said, should not have any excuses working with the executive? What do you think their priorities are going to be?
Well, the priorities are obvious. Nigeria is in a hurry to move past this, very disturbing state of insecurity that is bedeviling the country. Nigeria is in a hurry to have the issues of economic depression, if I may use that word, that is strangulating citizens, right, left, and center. Nigeria is in a hurry to see governance that would address their concerns legitimately and genuinely. The budgetary process is one of such easy avenue to achieve all of these, especially with respect to the economy. And so I'm happy that he has said, Senator Ahmed Lawan has said that, they would focus on the budget and ensure that they deal with it within 3 months. I'm also happy that he made the point that it also contingent on, the executive arm of government, which must also submit the budget on time, because there are two sides to the coin with respect to the budgetary process. Budget submission and budget passage, they're almost as important as one as the other. So if the executive keeps to what is required, what is demanded by the Fiscal Responsibility Act 2007, with this kind of commitments that we are hearing from the National Assembly, then I think that this is a hopeful sign that we may be in for, we may be past the era, we may be going past the era of, budget delays and all of the associated difficulties and government slowdown that usually come with it. So I think that, yes, the challenge more really is on the executive, how and when they submit the budget. The Fiscal Responsibility Act, clearly states that the budgets must be submitted not by September, and before that, the MTF, the Medium-Term Expenditure Framework, and the MTSs also have to be submitted 2 months or 3 months before, by June. And for all of the first 4 years of this administration, all of these, were observed in the breach. So if the National Assembly now has a commitment to deal with issues of budget delay and passage, I think the onus is also on the executive to ensure, going forward for the 2020 budget, when is the budget going to be presented? And then we can, be able to measure the commitments that have been made from the National Assembly. So the agenda is quite clear. What the expectations are already very high, and it is good to know that why the party got what they wanted, the individuals I also understand quite close to the presidency. The Deputy Senate President, I understand, also has the ears of the President. So all of these factors put together, should give us hope that there should be a certain swiftness in the delivery of democracy dividends for Nigerians.
This being said, on Democracy Day, our president made a speech saying that the next 4 years is hopeful to be meaningful. It's going to be a meaningful 4 years. And as we've rightfully said, APC is in control of the executive as well as the House. So with that being said, our national anthem also alludes to this by things that say peace and unity. Do you think that this is what we're going to be thriving on? Is this a platform? Is this what we should expect as a nation? Should we be hopeful? Should we be celebrating the fact that our country is now going to go in the right direction, and in the next 4 years, it should be very meaningful progress for everyone involved as a nation?
I didn't quite get that question. If you would repeat and paraphrase, perhaps it would help.
So
I know you
the leadership,
about democracy.
Yes, democracy. The president said in his speech that the next 4 years is going to be meaningful. Now that we have both the executive as well as the House, there's an APC win overall. Do you feel that the platform for our nation as a whole, we are thriving, we're going to be thriving in the next 4 years moving forward? What is your take on this?
There should be an agreement between both arms of government, and not just an agreement, not just a commitment, but a demonstrated commitment to actualize these promises made by the president. Because as it is now, it's now like a tea party for the APC administration with respect to putting its key officials and operatives in place. So what we want to see are commitments and milestones. What we want to see are the deliverables that will impact on the lives and living conditions of Nigerians. So when I speak about commitments and milestones, Mr. Lawan, this president of the Senate, has thrown the challenge that he is ready to ensure that the National Assembly delivers on the budget within 3 months. What is the response of the executive? The response is not what will be said. The response is what will be done. Are we going to see the budget presented to the National Assembly not later than September, perhaps October? So that, gives the National Assembly an opportunity to measure and achieve the milestone that it has set for itself. Because like I said, speaking is one thing, delivering and, performance is also the main thing, because Nigerians are in a hurry. Nigerians have suffered a lot. They have suffered enough. They deserve to be uplifted from this despondency that is pervading the land. And, look at the sad news around insecurity. Nigeria just reportedly lost a gallant senior military officer, to the terrorism, in the Northeast. These are depressing pieces of news. And so the challenge is already, is cut out for the government, and there is actually no time to waste. I do not understand why we do not have a list of ministers sent to the National Assembly yet. I don't know what the delay may be, but I think that with the kind of body language, with the kind of rhetorics that we hear from the National Assembly, we want to see a concomitant demonstration and the throwback of challenge from the executive arm of government. And I think that that would inspire a lot more confidence in the democratic process in this current era. And so I think that the presidency, especially the executive, which is yet to be constituted, really, needs to sit up and give these gentlemen, 469 of them, ladies and gentlemen, give them work to do, get them busy. From their inaugural sitting, they've gone on a 2 weeks break to do some housekeeping. Let me use that phrase. So by the time they come back, we expect that they already have a list of ministers to deal with. They already have some priority bills, being talked about. We have issues around reforms in the petroleum sector. The PIGB did not make it. What is the way forward? We have issues around anti-corruption. There are critical bills that did not sail through. The proceeds of crime bill. There are issues around, retooling the economy. The Company and Allied Matters Act Amendment Bill did not make it eventually. So we want to see some kind of, hurriness about getting some of these things done so that the basic foundations, as far as legislations, enactment of basic and necessary laws are concerned, are put in place in a hurry, because we have been through this before. PIGB, for instance, has been on the cards for, going to 2 decades, and it's befuddling that we're in this. So now that we seem to have a new breath, now that there seems to be it is because there's Saraki who was not elected or we didn't want. Now that you have everything that you want, we shouldn't expect to receive or to have any delay. It will be quite unfortunate if that repeats itself.
We're still with Mr. Oke Epia on the National Assembly. Mr. Epia, before we went on the break, well, you were talking about the process of crime bill, which I don't understand why they want to set up another agency. I mean, we have a plethora, but that's not even my question. Let's leave that to one side. My question is, should we be concerned about this adjournment? You just described it as housekeeping, you said. The Senate has adjourned till July 2nd because senators don't have offices to operate from. I mean, is this kind of incompetence what we should continue to expect from the National Assembly? Because the phrase is, start as you mean to go on. Mm-hmm. This is not a great note to start. Start setting up a 12-man committee to deal with offices, for goodness sake. There's that. I want to know your perspective on that. And also the fact that another sign that was seen as ominous in some quarters was the refusal of the Senate to debate the president's speech on Democracy Day, which ought to have been debated, I feel, because these are our representatives. It would have been nice to hear perspectives on this speech, because the speech is not just words on paper. That speech is some form of a roadmap. So what are your thoughts on that?
Let me start from the first question. A 2 weeks break to do what I have described as housekeeping is not necessarily out of some incompetence like you tend to suggest. You have a huge turnover of members in the House of Representatives for this time around, over half of them. And in the Senate, you also have a substantial number of new members. So there is a transition process that needs to happen.
Mr. Epia, we all know that if the election tribunals do not go their way, from that moment when the order is handed down from the courts, the senator is barred from the red chamber or the rep from the green chamber. So why, once the election results were announced by INEC months ago, were these offices not vacated? Why now? After a new assembly has come, we have to stop making excuses for this. These are offices that do not belong to the individual senators. The offices sort of are, attached to the constituency. So there is no excuse.
It is not making excuses. It is having an understanding of how the institution operates. The National Assembly, 8th National Assembly, officially closed shop on the 6th of June. And by the next week, which is the 11th of June, the new National Assembly was inaugurated. And so there is very little time And like I've told you, a lot of members didn't come back. They need to have those offices prepared for the new members who are going to take them. They need to constitute leadership. And because if you notice, the committee is constituted, also have to do, there are 3 committees. Selection, which is that to constitute leadership. There's committee on media and there's committee on welfare. So there are a whole lot of issues. They need to prepare their house in order and be ready to go full blast. So we can excuse them for this break, okay? So let me come to your second question about, the refusal of the Senate to allow the President's Democracy Day speech to be debated. That is politics in action. I agree with you that it is not right that such a policy document should not be debated by the people's representatives. But that is what the APC wants to do. The APC wants to have some of these formidable platforms for interrogating its government, controlled. And so when it seeks and achieves the objective of, installing his choices as President of the Senate and Speaker of the House of Representatives, as Deputy Speaker of the House and as Deputy President of the Senate, it is very much in control to a large extent in the chambers, while it is not, I agree, it is not a proper thing to disallow that debate, but then this is politics. So the PDP has to also devise its strategies in how to address and counter some of these things. And that's the beauty of democracy. The majority will have its way, the minority will have its say. Good thing, the PDP has constituted its leadership in the Senate, which is commendable, which is swift, which is what we want. So we do not also expect the APC to delay in constituting its leadership in the National Assembly. And I know that the individual who's been elected as or chosen as minority leader in the Senate is someone who can stand up to some of who can stand up to the APC and play some commendable role with respect to opposition politics in the Senate. So yes, it is not right that they disallow that debate, but what can you do? It's politics in action.
Sorry,
citizens can also, this is an opportunity for citizens to.
I'm sorry, please finish the sentence. Mr. Epia, please finish your sentence.
Yes, this is an opportunity for citizens to also begin to take more interest. And if citizens eventually think that such a document should be debated, we continue to speak up. We continue to demand that that document is debated. And at some point, the public pressure, would also have a bearing on what happens in the National Assembly. So my final point on this is that citizens must take more interest. They must play some level of participation, with respect to what goes on with their representatives. I mean, the accountability watch has begun. So there is no time for being laid back. There's no time for being, apathetic to what goes on in the red and the green chambers of the National Assembly.
Thank you for that point. It's always good to stress the role of the citizenry. I also just wanted to say, for the benefit of our viewers, the Senate Minority Leader you were referring to is Senator Abaribe, and his deputy is Senator Boacha.
Thank you. I wanted to ask you a couple of things. One of the things, and you alluded to this, that there is a despondence in the populace, and I think some of that has been because of the electoral process and the fact that people did lose a lot of hope in INEC. One of the things I wanted to ask you and to get a sense from you is, do you think that this National Assembly will prioritize the Electoral Act? If not, what do we need to do around reforming the process that brought a lot of them to the office that actually the citizens feel is flawed? That's my first question. The second question I have for you is, do you think that we should be concerned, worried, or at least on alert that there is enough checks and balances between the two arms of government, especially since APC has gotten what it wants? And I just sort of wanted to get your opinion on that. But the first one is talking about our electoral process and the bill that is still pending, and what do you expect this House to do?
Well, I would address the first question. The second I didn't quite get. I think that it is a no-brainer that the National Assembly should address issues around the electoral process in a hurry. Like you noted, the process that brought some of them, to where they are is it's not desirable. It's not what we want. It's not aspirational, so there should be that hurry. And the INEC chairman, I think they'll make that agenda clear to them that, look, when you get into offices, this is one thing that you must make as a priority. And also recall that when the president rejected or declined assent to the Electoral Act Amendment Bill shortly before the elections, his reason was that it was too close to the elections and that it would allow the elections process to, the elections to be conducted and then the matter can be revisited. Now the elections are conducted, we have everyone pretty much settling down. So I think that there should be some hurry in bringing that up. Because especially, it's not just about, the citizens this time. I bring your attention to a disturbing development that happened in the elections of the presiding officers of the House of Representatives on Tuesday. Disturbing if you saw the clerk of the National Assembly was struggling to keep members, to ensure decorum in the voting process because there was some sorts of shenanigans going on, and it's very, very sad and unfortunate that at that level there are issues around vote buying that are coming up. People have to be paid to vote for their speaker. People have to be paid to vote for who they want to elect as the first among equals, if that is the situation as is being reported or suggested by that action. I mean, it's unfortunate that if members who are individuals who are, given the responsibility to make laws for the electoral process to function are indeed caught up in a debasement of the process for itself, then we are in trouble.
Just to clarify,
and I think that there must be some redeeming. There must be some redeeming action from that
Epia, just for our viewers to understand what you're referring to, can we clarify that they were taking pictures of their ballot papers? Yes, is that what you're referring to? Just to clarify for our viewers, in the House of Reps.
That was what was suggested. Yes. That was what was suggested by the row that occurred during the voting process. At OrderPaper, we are making some investigations, and I'm sure that in no time we'll be able to come out with a report that would further clarify what exactly happened. But whatever it is, the optics of that event is unfortunate for our democracy. It's unfortunate for the National Assembly and specifically for the House of Representatives. The clerk of the National Assembly did say that, look, what we have done is to provide you an enabling environment to cast your ballot. So whatever you choose to do with your ballot, that's your business. What does that suggest? That means a whole lot. It speaks to a whole volume of, malfeasance that may have bedeviled that process, which we're investigating at OrderPaper.
Fantastic. My second question was really more on, and actually I think that's even just the question that Tunde asked you earlier, was the fact that there wasn't a debate around the president's speech. One of the things that I wanted to understand, do you think that we should be concerned or at least alert that this could end up being just a rubber stamp house without the type of debate and robust conversations we want to happen between the two arms of government, especially since it is an all APC calling the shots?
The debate that should happen? I didn't get that.
Once again, I'm saying that do you think as citizens we should be concerned that this could end up that the Ninth Assembly could just be a rubber stamping of the executive rather than healthy debate when it comes to passing of laws? Yeah.
That's a very valid concern, and from what we just spoke about, the disallowing of the debate of the president's speech.
That's what I was referring to. So I don't know if that's what caused. Yes.
That.
No, go ahead. I was referring to that as well.
Yeah. I'm just, also making reference to that. It's a concern, and it's indeed a valid one, because now that they have all individuals that they want as President of the Senate, Deputy President of the Senate, Deputy Speaker, and Speaker of the House of Representatives, respectively, it does seem that they could have an easy ride in anything that they want, with everything that they want with the National Assembly. It is not a concern that should be discussed dismissed, especially, like I have just said, what happened on Thursday with respect to a refusal to allow the debate on the President's Democracy Day speech. The antecedents that we have seen from the 8th Assembly, where the presidency appeared to have some sense of irritation with the National Assembly, if it carries on with that temperament,
it looks like we're going to have you back on.
Then we would not have a great checks of and balance from the National Assembly.
Well, thank you so much. It looks like we'll have to have you back to have further conversations and debates about this. It's time now for a short break. When we come back, Arise News analyst, producer Charles Owak will be joining us to review the newspaper headlines. Thank you.